All right, everybody, welcome to Picking the Lock. This name has been given to a couple different random videos here and there, and I decided that there was a trend, and it was all discussionary based. So what I've done is I've kind of reassigned the name Picking the Lock as my podcast type thing where I talk either just by myself or with people from the community. We kind of get together and just talk about relevant topics, do roundtable discussions. It will also include the interviews with the YouTubers. It'll include debates in the future. So whenever you see Picking the Lock, just know that's us talking for a long time about relevant stuff. So as long as that housekeeping's out of the way, I want to welcome my guest, one of my very, very good buddies. Introduce yourself.
Hello, dudes. I am AHM1K. I do stop motion on YouTube here.
Oh my, this is going to be a good one. Side note, this is my first live stream with my new desktop computer that is a powerhouse. My laptop that I've used for 4 years is about to give up the ghost, so I made a preventative purchase and built a desktop, and hopefully the quality is better. And you guys will be able to let me know if there's a noticeable improvement in streaming and audio quality. So keep an eye out for that.
I mean, just for me personally, it's coming through good on my end. So there's a start there.
That's excellent. Hopefully this thing can keep up with a lot more than the laptop could. So I'm hoping streaming is just a breeze for it.
Let's put my laptop against your PC to the test then.
Let's fight to the death. So our topic tonight, and you can tell by the title, this isn't going to be very long. And of course, if you guys want to chime in the group, in the chat below, feel free to. We're going to talk about the Studio Series line tonight, and we're also going to touch a little bit on third party. But we are wanting to do, and we'll explain it a little bit more towards the end, we're wanting to do an open roundtable debate at some point where we talk about Hasbro versus third party. And I want all people to be a part of that, to be able to be in the chat, in the actual stream itself, and just all of us debating on the pros and cons of both Hasbro and third party. Like I said, we'll tease that a little bit more towards the end. But for now, we want to talk about the Studio Series. And Kyle and I have had some pretty objective opinions about the Studio Series figures. Kyle owns 2 of them. I don't own any of them. I've tried to pull the trigger on a couple of them. However, it's not been for a price I was willing to pay. So my experience is coming from, I've watched a ton of videos. I've read a bunch of reviews. I've read comments from the community at large. And so that's where my experience is coming from. Kyle, on the other hand, has hands-on experience. So take that into consideration. So Kyle,
yes.
What Studio Series figures do you own, and what are your objective opinions on them? Now, how long has it been since you bought them?
Nearly a month. Usually, actually, pretty much around the first time, around Toy Fairs when I found them online.
Okay, so you've had them for about a month.
Yeah.
So which figures do you own, and what are your thoughts on them?
I own Bumblebee and Stinger. And I guess Thundercracker now, too, if he counts the Toys R Us exclusive.
Right.
Yeah, I have him, too, now as of late. And objectively, there's some quality control issues. There are some QC issues, and I am not pleased with them.
Can you explain in further detail what your specific complaints are?
For me, the Stinger, it's floppy and flimsy, and it doesn't stay well together too well. A lot of times it also likes to, pieces just fall off of it, and I'm concerned those little like Ninja Star gear things he has on his back, they're kind of flimsy too, and just trying to move them around or take them off or do whatever with them, you always get the feeling like you're going to break them trying to get off, so it's a little concern there. Bumblebee, it's pretty much just the same as everyone with Bumblebee. That one, it's the back piece that doesn't stay there. It's just all together floppy and loose, and the arm piece. I'm concerned that since the gun is a removable arm piece, I am concerned that the more I take that on and off, the more it's just not going to stay on anymore. It's just going to get worn out. And now, most recently with Thundercracker, this one's a real minor one. Actually, it's a few minor things. The way his head sculpt works with his body, his head doesn't really turn all that much. You maybe get, I don't know, I want to say like maybe like, dare I say like 20% head range motion side to side. His head really just doesn't move. And the gun piece, the cannon that he has, mine doesn't latch in, so it's always just sliding out. Because you can have them fully extend or kind of just latch like back in or just like sink back in. Mine doesn't stay sunk in. It's like it already came worn out, so it's always just fully extended all the time or partially.
Well,
now that I've gone over my laundry list.
Well, hey, that's it. The funny thing is, and if you pay attention, even the reviewers that are either the video review or the written review, even the reviewers who are giving these things good marks still touch on the fact that they have QC issues. And I think that's something to note. Now, before we dig too deep into the things about Studio Series that kind of suck, I do want to preface, like I said, Kyle and I have had in the past some very, strong opinions about Hasbro figures. And the word on the grapevine is that some people don't like the fact that we're critiquing these things so hard. And here's the deal. I can say for myself, and I know Kyle feels the same way, but I'll just speak for me. I don't want these toys to be bad. Mm-hmm. But if they are bad, I think it's our responsibility as consumers to call people out for that, or call Hasbro out for that.
Yeah.
And I'll just use a car because that's a relevant example for me. If I took my car to the shop, and this has actually happened in the past, I got my transmission worked on, and the shop did not you have to take the exhaust off to drop the transmission, blah, blah, blah. Things did not get put back correctly on my car, and parts were warped and twisted and rubbing into things they weren't supposed to be rubbing into. And I took it back and I told them, this is not correct. The car's not supposed to look like this. Please fix it. I didn't just go, oh, well, they're a shop. They know what they're doing. As a customer, you have a responsibility, or actually the company has a responsibility to please you. And in my opinion, I think when things are drastically wrong, such as the Studio Series, and we'll dig into why, I think it's our job as fans and consumers to bring that to Hasbro's attention.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that we hate these things. Shoot. You can ask Kyle. I've been on the fence about, even before this started, I almost bought some Studio Series figures. I've been on the fence about these. I want these toys. But the only thing that's pumping the brakes for me are these glaring quality control issues. And I hate it because I would love to just buy Bumblebee right now, buy Starscream right now, buy Blackout right now. I would love to do that. But unfortunately, we have some problems. And I think, once again, we need to bring that to Hasbro's attention and say, hey, things aren't right here. Please fix it.
No, absolutely. I totally agree that I feel like we really wanted these to be well. Hell, I mean, I went out and bought some, like the Bumblebee and the Stinger. I got them the night we did our toy fair thing. I didn't even know they were out. I just casually checked the Hasbro toy shop, and they were there. I was like, oh crap, I'll I'll get them. I really like those car modes. I wanted them to be good. And I mean, just from experience, I'm utterly kind of disappointed.
Yeah.
And I've never been shy about that too, and that sort of gets me a lot of heat.
Yeah. So please don't confuse our critiques as mindless hatred or bashing or whatever you want to call it. We have legitimate reasons to complain about these figures, and it comes from a place of like we want these to be improved. We want them to be good. It's not a, oh, let's hate on these toys because it's Hasbro. So please, I hate that we have to say that, but our reactions from previous, discussions has been a little bit negative, and I just want to address that here, that we're not trying to rip Hasbro a new one. We want these things to be good as much as everyone else.
Consider it more respectfully laying out our opinion that's not popular.
That is fair.
Yes. That's sort of like the most basic way to say it.
Right. So I do want to address some of the earlier complaints we had on the board with the Studio series. Was the fact that Bumblebee was really small was one of the biggest complaints out of the gate from a lot of different people. And since then, it's come out that Bumblebee is in scale with the other figures. And the big thing for the Studio series line is that the figures are in scale with one another in terms of how they were in the movie, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I understand that Bumblebee is a smaller character and his toy has to be smaller. I'm okay with that.
I just wish they'd kept them in scale, but bigger in size, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, a whopping 4.5 inches for a deluxe figure. I mean, that's almost, we're getting close to Legends class size there.
Yeah. So I agree with that. I think if they'd kept the scale but bumped up the overall size of everybody, I think that would have been okay. Now, obviously, that would have made Grimlock freaking huge because Grimlock is the biggest, hands down, of all these Studio series. But I mean, I don't know. And my rebuttal to that, and I've heard people say, well, Bumblebee is the smallest character, so you're going to have to be okay with paying $20 for him because he's supposed to be small. And it's really hard to make a figure that small and have the amount of detail he has. Well, my rebuttal to that is it really that hard? I purchased the Power of the Primes Legends class figures. What are they?
You said the Battle Clash?
Yeah, Battle Trap. I bought the two of them that make Battle Trap.
Oh,
those are darn good figures. They're really detailed. Their joints are phenomenal. They're great. So why are we seeing this drop in quality from these Studio series? I understand he's a small and intricate figure, but my point here is I would be comfortable paying $20 for him, even if he was small, if he didn't freaking fall apart or not stand up correctly.
Oh yeah. It's funny, really.
From across the board, from who was it? Was it Imgo? I don't know. Whoever smashed him with a hammer, to TJ Omega, who gave the figure an overall positive review. Across the board, the complaints have been he doesn't hold together and he doesn't stand up. And I would argue that those are the two most fundamental things that any action figure, not Transformers, not Marvel, not Power Rangers, any action figure ever needs to be able to stand up, hold its weight in position, in poses, and not fall apart.
The Bumblebee fails to do that.
And that's what I'm disappointed. I love the way it looks. I think the car looks great.
Oh, yes.
But fundamentally, how did we get those two things wrong?
It seemed more like a rush to get these figures out. Maybe.
I've heard that.
Knows.
I've heard that because Chinese New Year happened, the manufacturing was rushed. because they said, "Oh, hey, you're going to be able to get these early." That kind of sped things up a little bit, and the QC just wasn't there. But we're still seeing certain QC issues in the figures that are coming out now. They're street dated at on the 20th, which is when all the studio series are supposed to hit. So at my time, in about 10 days is when they're supposed to hit wide scale.
Really?
Yeah, 10 days, April the 20th. But people already have these. And
Yeah, I saw them in stores.
I'm seeing reports of quality control issues in the ones coming out in April.
Yeah.
So, like, I could understand if the first batch of Bumblebee, Ratchet, Crowbar, Stinger, I could understand if that first batch was a little rough because they rushed things. It happens. I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But when the rest of them, especially the leader class ones, are having trouble staying together as well, what is that?
It's greatly concerning, and it's odd. Like you said, they're supposed to hit the shelves the 20th. I found almost all of them in a store at one point. And I sat there going, wow, not only are they overpriced, but they're small, and there's quality control issues coming out with them. They just seemed rushed.
Yeah. And I don't like that because this is supposed to be the extension of the Generations line in terms of, like, these are the more, you've got kind of this is the middle class of Transformers. This is kind of half kid oriented, half collector oriented is where I think this line draws its audience.
Yep.
And so when we even if it's half collector oriented and heck kid oriented, because kids are rougher on toys than the collectors are, if they can't even nail the QC, then what's going on? Or are they, because as far as I know, they're supposed to continue the studio series. Like it's not just going to be done after these first two waves. I think it's supposed to go on. Or is that Generations?
I think it's Generations.
I think I heard, and I should fact check that. I'm fairly certain that the studio series is going to continue into the Bumblebee movie toy line, is what I seem to understand.
But here we go. JJHDGDB. Brawl stock photo is standing on nickels. It's funny you should say that because that really relates to this point where they can't stand up on their own. Even in the stock photo, they had to have Brawl standing on something to make him stand up. And then they couldn't quality control the photo by, photoshopping the nickels out.
Yeah. No, I see your question now. Sorry, it was below where I could see it. No, I didn't watch Pacific Rim Uprising. I've heard it's not very good, and I didn't have any interest in seeing it to begin with. So I just kind of waited on reviews, and then when people said it wasn't very good, I decided that I wouldn't see it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, it's kind of. So I think no matter what rebuttal you give to the quality of, oh, it was rushed, it's like, well, then why are the other ones having quality issues? And oh, it's because he's a small figure. Well, then why are the bigger ones having issues? The more we see of this line, the more problems are revealed, it seems. And I'm not a huge fan of it because I want these to be good. And unfortunately they're not.
This is vastly concerning for the Bumblebee movie, if this is what they're calling quality control now for movie stuff.
We've got reports, and the only one I was hook, line, and sinker sold on was the leader Blackout. I'm interested in Bumblebee, I'm interested in Starscream, and I'm interested in Megatron. I was hook, line, and sinker on Blackout, but I'm hearing reports that he doesn't even tab in together well in the helicopter mode. And like, that's a $50 figure, guys. He's that expensive. and he can't tab together in vehicle mode.
Yeah, I mean, that is a concern.
So
Concerning.
from what we see right now, and it's gotten actually worse since the first time we were exposed to the Studio Series line. From what we see right now, it appears that if you were to summarize the Studio Series line with like a slogan, it would be quality control issues. And we just got a comment. Voyager Megatron is bad. He is a light gray plastic and his legs are too long. I would agree. I saw the painted one at Toy Fair and he was that shiny silver and I was like about to drool. I just thought it looked so good. The gray plastic definitely throws me off. I don't think it looks near as good as it would have the shiny silver. But I think the issue you're talking about with his legs, I think that's you can chalk that up to mistransformation because I've seen pictures of him and his legs don't look bad. So I'm thinking the pictures we're seeing now are mistransformed. So
All right.
that. But yeah, across the line, QC issues, not just with the deluxes, not just with the Voyagers, with the leaders too. And it's kind of disappointing. And I haven't done much digging, but it seems like Grimlock, leader Grimlock is the best one detail wise out of them all, which is crazy because he had a total amount of like 10 minutes of screen time. And this is the best toy in this entire line over Optimus freaking Prime and Bumblebee.
It's funny when Connor saw the Grimlock. Out of all the figures he saw from the Studio Series, the Grimlock was the one he was most sold on too.
I mean, and I can see why. It's a very good looking toy.
And I haven't heard a lot of complaints about it, if any.
Yeah, and that's good.
Exactly. The less I hear about it, the better. I mean, if we're not hearing about it in all these articles or anything about it, I would say that means there's not much wrong with it. Nothing worth note, at least.
I don't particularly like that design of Grimlock. It's a personal thing. It's some people like it and that's fine. I had the Voyager and he just didn't really grow on me. I prefer the Fall of Cybertron design actually. But that's like I said, that's a personal thing. If that toy is great, then excellent. If it doesn't have many QC issues, awesome. And I think the fact that we've heard not much about that toy is a good sign because, I mean, if there were glaring issues, I feel like we'd be hearing about them.
Mm-hmm. I'd say that's safe to say.
Haven't heard any bad things about Starscream really either.
No, I haven't either. So I mean that could be something, and I can tell you from actually I've held Starscream in hand, and he didn't look bad, really. He didn't look incredibly small.
Yeah, he's pretty big. He's about the same size as Leader Blackout.
Yeah, so I mean, he's safe to say that. Well, not safe to say because I mean, we all thought, that the Blackout was going to be good, but say it's. I guess I don't know how to say it, but I mean, essentially that Starscream. There's no news about him being bad. He looks decent in hand. That may be a go-to rather than a just like a think about it kind of one.
And I do think like actually we were talking about earlier, I don't think many people are going to buy this first version of Starscream because they've said that the version with the tattoos is coming out and I know Kyle prefers it. I definitely prefer him with the tattoos rather than the blank jet.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I thought the tattoos was a cool design for them.
Yeah. It definitely made him look really, really neat.
Starscream was actually one of the very few characters in the Michael Bay movies that I liked the design they did for him. And then when they put the tattoos on him, it was like, oh, even better. Now he's more. Now he's more unique.
I do know that across the board, pretty much people think Optimus looks terrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in the Toy Fair pictures where the stickers were already coming off.
The stickers.
I mean, we had a field day with that.
They definitely, and I was listening to the WTF at TFW podcast, and they were saying it looks like they tried to mash together engineering from the Evasion Mode Optimus and the Prime First Edition Optimus, and it's just not working.
Yeah, that's a shame because those are two pretty decent Optimuses.
Yeah. Haven't heard much about Lockdown, but then again, he's not been out widely. Then Jazz, actually, we have a comment. It says, Jazz looks okay, but something about his lower legs look odd. And I'm fairly certain that's because he has no feet. The CGI model for Jazz has very pronounced feet, but it's because the studio series doesn't have the feet. There's little stumps there. I think that's why you're having some issues with the legs there.
I'll screen share it now since I'm looking at it.
Oh, dude. There we go.
Yeah. You get this nice little Jazz here. Oh my gosh, look at those stump feet. It reminds me of Combiner Wars.
Those little stumps.
You know, it actually kind of does look like some of the engineering in the legs from Combiner Wars. Like right around there, where the feet split apart and they'll probably like consume the leg.
Hey there, Go-Go is Loco. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But yeah, that's why I think you're having issues with Jazz's legs there.
Yep.
It's because he don't have no feet. That was one of the first things I noticed about him was how I was like, oh, that doesn't look right.
I mean, here he is stacked up to some other guys.
Yeah.
3 of our deluxes. It's like, oh God. Oh. It's bad.
Since Ratchet's there, I've heard good things about Ratchet. That he doesn't stand up, obviously, because that's the pretty much across the board is that studio series don't stand. Yeah. And another big complaint is that the roof rack from the ambulance mode doesn't fold up in any way. It just kind of dangles off his back.
Oh yeah, there it is right there.
Mm-hmm. So people like him, but it's not like, oh wow.
Trying to see if I can get any other good pictures.
Brawl Nichols.
Oh, that's a good one. Where's Brawl?
Yeah. Shout out to TF Fan Page 101 for bringing that to our attention. Brawl is standing on Nichols in his stock photography because apparently even the photographers couldn't get him to stand up right.
They couldn't get him to stand up right, and then somehow, some way, someone missed the whole Nichols being there, and they're like, oh, it's clearly photoshopped onto a white background, but let's forget to Photoshop the Nichols.
Somebody's like, hey, Greg, you have any pocket change? He's like, yeah, I got some nickels. We'll bring them over here. We can't get this darn thing to stand up. Remind me to Photoshop these out later. Oops.
Oops. Yeah, that's right.
Maybe we have like we have a silent night that is working in the photography department. Whoever takes pictures of these Transformers, he's like, don't buy it. I had to use nickels to make him stand up.
He's like, no one will notice it. Hasbro executives, they don't look at these. I'm the only one who does. Put it out there. They don't even know what the figure looks like. They think it's part of it.
My man.
It's actually a bunch of nickels. I was going to use that 50-cent piece, but I figured that would be too obvious.
He saved us all. Thank you, Random. Hasbro photographer. Oh, geez.
This is why Hasbro should hire me to be their photographer. I won't miss something like the nickels.
That's funny. Brawl looks really good. I've seen or like comparisons between the CGI model and the deluxe and the leader class Brawl and this Studio Series one, and hands down, this Brawl is almost perfect compared to the CGI model, which is good. But if you won't stand up, then what's the point?
Oh, you are the bane of my existence right now.
Thundercracker?
Yes.
Kyle, why don't you tell the world how much Thundercracker costs?
If you want to go to Toys R Us right now, you can find Thundercracker for $30.
30 smackaroons.
If you want to go online to find him, you can find him for $60.
Yay. Because
I'm going to resell him online.
Yay.
It's funny. I've seen it even out of package. This thing's going for $50-$60. I'm going to sell them after Toys R Us closes. I'm going to make $100.
Just because I like the blue and I never got a Nitro Zeus.
I have to say, I don't know why this is so bright right here. Mine is like this really, really dark blue. Like it almost looks purple kind of blue.
It's purple.
This right here makes it look like it's a really nice, solid blue. Mine not so much. I'm not fond of like the 4 or 8 eyes because it looks like he's got like 4 eyes and then there's a bunch of more red dots above them. So I'm like, are those the eyes?
From what I can tell, that is a very metallic paint job, which means that in the right light, it's going to be a bright blue. But other than that, you've got that dark.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I can go get him right now. Actually, I'll do that. So I'll just turn on the camera and y'all can see him in hand.
Do it, mate. Go. I don't know if I'm going to review one of these yet because I don't own any. Provided the QC issues get fixed, I will purchase Blackout. That's my biggest. Like, I'm not going to drop $50 on a figure that won't tab together. So, I would like to own some of these Studio Series figures, but if they can't fix the quality control, then I'm not going to buy any. I did buy, surprise, surprise, I bought Battle Trap, which is a Power of the Primes figure. It's actually 2 figures. I actually bought that, and so I'll be reviewing those at some point, which is more than I ever thought I would. But Power of the Primes got me 1 time. 2 times, technically.
Hey, stop sharing. There we go.
Stop sharing.
Yes. Oh, here he is in the flesh, but you see what I'm talking about. This is average lighting. Yeah, he kind of looks purple.
That's very dark.
And then this is what I was talking about. The cannon never goes all the way up. It just kind of... hopefully y'all can see this. This is actually a better day where it doesn't actually just slide all the way out. Doesn't just...
I wonder what happened.
It's so much fun having this thing that barely hangs down where it's like,
I wonder if they've changed. Normally they'll use steel molds to inject the plastic into. I wonder if they've changed something because we have not seen a level of mold degradation like this, as far as I know, ever. Like, the classic Seekers got remolded, what was it, 6 times before that mold started to fall apart? And we're seeing that's the second version. That's the second remold of that toy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work.
Oh yeah, here's some of that head range motion I was talking about, you get maybe like, yeah, that's about it.
Does the head pop off?
I haven't even tried that.
It should still do it because Nitro Zeus was a headmaster, kind of.
You know, it's actually not coming out, and I don't want to tug on it too hard, just in case it's not supposed to. But ooh, here we go. Even better showing. Yep, that's about it.
Yay!
So in stop motion, he's totally just gonna pivot.
Full
body.
Gogo wants to know if there are any glaring issues with that figure.
Well, aside from the ones I've just pointed out, not really. It's still got the same feel as Nitro Zeus, not any heavier, not any thinner.
Well, that's good. Just a little bit of quality control in terms of
the head thing doesn't seem like a one-off. The cannon might just be just my version.
Could be.
But the head thing does seem pretty
well, isn't the head is like a hard rubber, isn't it?
No, it's plastic.
Huh.
Same as the thing.
Weird.
It's his chin though. It keeps butting up against the rest of him there. That's what I think, at least.
Warning.
Studio Series Thundercracker.
So I think we've covered everybody. We talked about. I mean, you touched on.
Did we talk about? There's a few that we don't know much about. There's I think there's Lockdown. Did we talk about him?
Yeah. JJDA. God, I can't say your name. It's so.
We'll say JJ.
JJ says that he thinks it looks like a shell former, and I think you're right. But in order to turn that robot into that Lamborghini, I'm not sure that there's really a good way to do it. Kyle owns the what's his name? Perukill, the third party Lockdown.
Yes.
Is he kind of a shell former, or does he actually transform?
He transforms, but it is not easy.
So it is possible to transform him without being a shell former, but it's complicated.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want to invest some time if you're going to be doing that. Clear your schedule, your afternoon maybe.
Yeah, I could see that tall, lanky robot turning into that sleek Lamborghini. I could totally see that being either super simplified or way, way complex.
Yeah. I got it to robot, no problem. I have never been able to get it back to Lamborghini. And that's what tells me I need to clear a whole afternoon to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's not Studio Series. That's too bad. I was gonna say I got some more comparisons, but it's not really. I don't even know what that is. Here. More comparisons, but that's not even that. That's Iron Warrior. That's not even Studio Series. Ignore me. I'm apparently finding nothing.
So unfortunately, as the terrain reads right now, Studio Series is a good effort that is insanely hindered by quality control issues. And it's not one individual figure, it's the lot of them, with the exception of a few that we don't seem to know much about.
Mm-hmm.
The way it looks right now, your safe bets are Grimlock and Starscream and the Thundercracker Toys R Us exclusive.
Oh yeah, here's a good size comparison for you.
That Grimlock is massive.
Yeah, I mean they made the Megatron quite big too with that. And then there's Optimus Prime, and it makes me wonder, how did this fight this for reals?
Well, that's the scale in the movie. Megatron was much bigger than Prime in Revenge of the Fallen.
Oh yeah, but I mean still, it just makes you wonder. It's like, how did that fight that? That's
He's
just.
Optimus Prime. He always wins.
I mean, he has to, but damn. Oh, here we go. Grimlock next to Leader Megatron.
Ah,
From last
cool.
night. There we go. Actual figures that we know.
I do really still like that Leader Megatron, actually.
Yeah, that Grimlock. Oh, that's a blurry picture. That's
So yeah. So let's segue into, so overall, kind of disappointed with the Studio Series line thus far. I hope it gets better. Sincerely, hope it gets better. But it as of right now, things are looking pretty grim.
Grim pun. Grimlock.
Grimlock. Animated. Come on, guys. So
Any dudes out there who happen to have some of these studio figures that we don't know much about, if you have them and there's quality control issues or things you want to say about them, please feel free to leave that in the comments or the live chat.
absolutely. So the next thing I would care to discuss is how these compare, how our current Hasbro offerings compare to some of the third-party offerings right now. And as we said earlier, this is the beginnings of the open debate we plan to have at some point in time, where we welcome anybody and everybody to join in to the live stream itself and pretty much argue for or against Hasbro or for or against third party. We want it to be an open debate. We're not sure when it's going to happen, but we want to kind of prep the world for that right now. My biggest thing, and I think this says a lot, if you've never held a third-party figure, it's very difficult to understand the appeal. And I know my friend Larry Arts Productions was actually over the other day. He came over to the humble abode, and I let him mess around with the Planet X figures. And his reactions were pretty positive. And it was just like, he didn't even transform Optimus. I just put Optimus in his hand, and he was like, "Oh," like so. And there was a time when you could pick up a Hasbro figure. Like when I pick up the animated figures, I kind of get a similar sensation. But even more so, like the Unicron trilogy, that level of just solid and robust figure feel that those toys give is echoed in the third-party figures of today. Stacked on top of that, you have engineering and what am I trying to say? The complexity of the 2009 Revenge of the Fallen line. The robot modes look great. The vehicle modes look great. The transformation between them is innovative, and it gets the job done. And like, I transformed Starscream and showed it to Larry, and he said, "I don't believe that's the same figure. I think you grabbed another toy from somewhere, and that's what you're holding now." And that's crazy. That something like that can do that. So for me, there's a definite difference. There's a very wide gap between where Hasbro is right now and third party is right now. And Hasbro is thin plastic, hollow parts, loose joints, simplified transformations, unnecessary gimmicks. And then across the gap, you have third party who's got robust plastic. I have had a hard time finding hollow parts unless they're absolutely necessary for the transformation. Everything feels solid. You've got complicated transformation, no unnecessary gimmicks. The toys, all these Transformers need to do, and the reason I love Battle Slash and Road Trap is they don't have gimmicks. They're both really good figures on their own that combine into one great figure. And they don't have the Prime Masters, they don't have anything. They're just good Transformers. And I think that's what we need right now, is just to go back to good Transformers. So I think that's why third party is excelling, because they're offering these excellent figures that look great in robot mode, look great in vehicle mode, and transform well, and they're solid and they feel great, and they don't have to worry about gimmicks. All they do is transform and look phenomenal. So you've got that gap in quality. Mm-hmm. The gap that is closing, however, is the price gap, because Hasbro used to be fairly affordable, but deluxes are now $20 minimum. You can probably get away with paying $30 for a deluxe right now if you really, really wanted to. Mm-hmm. That is not from $30 to, let's just say, what can we compare deluxe wise? There are, well, let me just.
Well, here's a nice comparison. You can get Studio Series Thundercracker for $30 at Toys R Us if you can find it. Or you can go on, say, like TF Source right now and get Planet X Thundercracker for $90. You're paying a third of the price for a third-party figure, which is decent. For
3 times the price.
Yeah, you're paying a third of the price for a stupid Thundercracker that has QC issues.
Yeah.
At that point, it's almost just worth save up and invest.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Let me look. Trying to find a comparable figure, because like Planet X Optimus, let's just say he is comparable right now. I truly believe is comparable to a leader class figure. Size wise, he's about a Voyager. But in terms of weight and engineering and quality and posability, I would safely compare him to a leader class figure. Mm-hmm. So let's just take him versus Blackout. Blackout is $50. Studio Series Blackout, or even Studio Series Grimlock, is $50. For $105, you can have the Planet X Optimus Prime. And I know that sounds like a lot, but when you hold these figures in hand, and if I was to grab Titans Return Overlord and Planet X Optimus right now and hold them, there's absolutely no comparison.
Yeah.
And if you were to come over to my house right now and I was to hand you Overlord and to hand you Planet X Optimus, you would be like, okay. You would understand. And it's all about the hand feel. It's all about once you've experienced, it's how do you know?
I can tell you from experience, he does this. You walk into his house and he starts handing you figures.
I do. I'm like, here, touch this. Touch my things.
No, but yeah, I mean, if you were to hold like one in each hand, it's going to be clear and obvious which one you would want to keep messing around with after you're done with that.
And I like my Overlord. I like 6-Shot. I like my combiners. But odds are 9 out of 10, I will grab a Planet X figure to play with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much the same. I struggle transforming them, but I still have more fun with those than I do with the Hasbro stuff that keeps falling apart.
And that's kind of why we want to have this debate on third party versus Hasbro, because you've got this massive gap in quality, but very quickly, I think we're going to see that there's not that big of a gap in price between Hasbro and third party. And when the price gap is that like small of a difference, then I think we're going to see a lot more people buying a lot more third party.
Yeah.
Because there's already an avid group of people who exclusively buy third party figures. I still like to buy Hasbro from time to time, if I like the toy.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah, if Hasbro can produce good product, then we'll buy Hasbro. I mean, that's not the complaint here.
oh yeah, of course. I don't hate Hasbro because it just has the name Hasbro on it. That's ridiculous. That's like saying I love everything Hasbro produces because it has a Hasbro logo on it. Excuse the analogy, but if they were to put you know, a turd in a box that says Transformers Power of the Primes and has the Hasbro logo on it, I really truly feel like some people would buy it and be like, "Oh, great! Look!"
Have you seen the Leader Class Rodimus?
I set you up, and I'm so glad you knocked that one out of the park. Goodness gracious! Yes!
Yes! Damn straight!
So, yes, exactly. Some people will look at objectively bad figures, and just because it has a Hasbro logo on it, they will think it's great. I don't look at a Hasbro figure and go "Ugh," because it has the Hasbro logo on it. I look at a figure and go "Ugh," because it's a figure that deserves to have that noise made at it, you know? Like if it's a good figure, take my freaking money. But if it's not a good figure, I'm not going to spend money on it. And I'm going to tell you why I don't want to spend money on it, because we've got to learn. People need to quit being upset. You're attacking my friends at Hasbro. How dare you make fun of them? Quit. I want Hasbro to be better. I want them to be good. And by apologizing for them and buying everything they produce, regardless of quality, you are doing nothing but telling them, hey, you know these garbage figures you're charging me an arm and a leg for? I'll take more of that, please. I am trying to communicate. Hasbro, I love you. You've done some great stuff in the past. This stuff right here, unacceptable. Here's how you can fix it. That's what I'm trying to communicate.
Yes, I mean that's really what we're all trying to communicate here, but yeah.
So with that being said, I think that was my closing argument. I do want to do a debate on people who are buying Hasbro and think things are okay right now. If you are out there and don't just like, I want you to honestly feel that way. If you picked up a Studio Series Bumblebee and you are thinking to yourself, this is okay, please leave a comment, because I want you to be a part of our roundtable discussion. I want to hear from you.
This is the perfect opportunity for you to actually join a live stream with us.
And that goes for everybody, from varying ends of the spectrum, from I only buy third party to I only buy Hasbro and everything in between. I want to hear from you, and I want you to be a part of our debate, Hasbro versus third party.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you think. And obviously, we just laid out pretty much some huge points that you may have counters for, and we don't see those counters because our mindset is our mindset, so we don't see the other opinion. It doesn't make sense to us. That's why we really want to hear from you.
Exactly. So with that being said, life is crazy right now, and I don't have plans at all, but I do want to do this video. And the sooner I get people who can say, yes, I want to be involved, the sooner we can make it happen. So just let me know in the comments, and we'll get you penciled in to appear in our live stream.
Absolutely. We would love to have you in here. We want to hear from you.
Yay.
Yeah, dude.
That's all I got. Kyle, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, I mean, your closing arguments pretty much summed up everything that might have gone through my mind.
I'm a bit of a chatterbox, so.
Well, I mean, you laid out a pretty effective closing argument. At that point, you should have just dropped a mic and end the stream.
Boom. So, anyway, cool. Well, Kyle, you want to sign yourself out, as they say in Canada?
Well, to sign myself out here, I am AHM1K. I am all about that stop motion and Transformers United.
And I'm lockbotCRM. I'm the channel that does discussionary stuff. I do reviews of figures. I talk a lot about like these types of things, the studio series. And I absolutely thank you for watching my live stream. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. And let us know if you want to be a part of the debate, and we'll get you in. Thank you so much. Bye.